Okay, so I'm driving the new Toyota GR Corolla, and forgive my sound, my mics were dead, and so we'll do the best that we can with this, but I've been driving the crap out of this thing for the last week, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm kind of, this is kind of like my kind of car, as I'm sure a lot of enthusiasts would say. But I mean, I've owned a lot of cars really similar to this. I've owned a 2011 WRX. I owned a 2004 WRX STI. I've owned a 2020 WRX STI. I've owned a BRZ. I've owned a Mazda 3 Turbo. So a lot of like similar kind of cars, and given all the praise that's been on this thing for the last, it feels like forever now, I've been really excited to finally I've driven it once before, but it was only for about 20 minutes, half hour. So I didn't get like a ton of exposure with it. And it feels great to have a lot more time with it now. I've had it for like the last week, and I've put about 300 miles on it, and I've gotten to be very, very familiar with it. So I've got a lot of thoughts, and the short of it is this car is amazing. It's so good, and it's even better than I had remembered from my short stint with it a year ago in Colorado. It's a phenomenal car. It's so much fun to drive. It handles so well. The power is super fun and super addicting. You've already seen a ton of reviews of this thing, so I'll add to what many have already said, but also kind of give you some of my own interesting takes on some of the nuances of it. But it definitely, this feels more fizzy and more raw than I would say, and unrefined than like the Civic Type R, for example, or even the new WRX. I actually really like the VB, the current generation of WRX. I think it's a super underrated car, and I've made 2 videos about that vehicle, and that WRX is selling really well, and I think it deserves it, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But this feels just more raw, and I know I always use the term old school, probably more than I should, but this does feel more old school in the way that WRXs kind of felt 15, 20 years ago, which is crazy to even think, it was that long ago. But obviously with more power and a little more technological refinement. And so anyway, it's just been a blast. It's just been such a blast to drive. This is such a great car. I mean, it really just rips along. The power that comes from this little 3-cylinder is pretty impressive, if I'm being honest. And like, it's a small engine. You can't really hear it right now, but especially if the window's cracked, you can hear like the blow-off valve and the turbos like constantly going. This just puts out so much boost and so much just pressure. I pray that this does have Toyota's legendary reliability standard, and I guess only time will tell. But from such a small engine with so much boost, especially if people are driving it hard, I mean, there's obviously the cooling and the heat, the heat soaking issues that have already been it's very well known at this point with this engine. So, I hope this engine does stand the test of time, like a lot of that is insane. That is just so freaking cool. Woo! So yeah, I hope it stands the test of time like Toyota's other engines, but I guess we'll wait and we'll see. So speaking of the power delivery, other people have mentioned this, but it does again feel more akin to, it's not totally like super progressive like it is like in the Civic Type R, for example, or even surprisingly the current generation WRX. It is pretty progressive, don't misunderstand, and it's not like as aggressive and disjointed as like previous WRXs, but there's definitely like from 1,000 to 3,000 RPM, it's like, okay, this is fun. But then from like 3,000 to 5,000, it's like, woo, there's a lot of power here. And then from like 5 to redline, it's almost like it's in 3 different phases of power. But it does feel pretty progressive, don't misunderstand. But from 5 to 7, it just like rips all the way to the red line, and it's pretty thrilling. I mean, this thing, I don't know how well you can hear it, but let me downshift with this auto rev matching feature, the IMT. I've been using it a lot. I'm not great at heel towing, so I really like it. It's probably not the smoothest. I think it's a little bit better like in the Civic Type R or the Integra Type S, but if I downshift here, oh man, like, it makes such a cool sound. And like I said, you can hear the turbos like crazy, and which is just adds to the drama and adds to the thrill of this car. I don't believe there's any like piped in sound, so everything that you're hearing is just natural from this tiny, again, little 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it's all-wheel drive system. And there's a lot of cool sounds to be had. Like it is honestly like really fun and entertaining just to listen to the engine and the turbos, and it's just kind of hilarious. It's just kind of like a hilarious car in general. Like, it looks kind of ridiculous. I mean, it does look cool, but it's just like short and squatty and bulgy and huge grill, and like, I mean, it just looks kind of crazy, right? And it sounds crazy. The exhaust, I've heard some people complain that that rev matching is great. Woo! Oh man, that is just so good. The exhaust, I've heard some people complain, is like too boomy or drony. It really only is like for really low RPMs when you first are started up and are driving off. Other than that, like, it's totally fine. Like, don't let the exhaust be a deterrent at all here. I think it sounds good. If anything, I'd like it maybe a little bit louder, but here we go, downshift again. We're on snow tires, so it's been a little bit slidier than usual, but oh my goodness. Woo! It's just so good to drive. It's so fun. It's so fun. Oh. Okay, so that leads me to some other thoughts. And let's talk about the competition for just a minute, because at this point you probably have already seen all the reviews. And I don't know how much more I can really add. I will say this. So I'm in a Core trim right now, and there's no heated. This does not have, so for right now, if you go on to build the Core model on Toyota's website as of April of 2024, you can't add in the cold weather stuff like the heated seats and heated steering wheel, so this does not have that, and this checks in at just almost $40,000 with the performance package. This does have the limited slip diffs and all that stuff, so the stuff that you want. So you definitely want that. So this is 40 grand basically. And I just wish I had heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Like, I think it should just come with it. That said, these cloth seats, the cloth is okay. I can see some wear points. We have about 12,000 miles on this GR. And I can definitely see where it started to wear over the last 12,000 miles. But the seats themselves are super comfortable. Like, they're squishy. You kind of like sink into them. They're very supportive and well bolstered. I love these seats. Love them. It was like such a pleasant surprise. And I've said this before, but I think Toyota's doing really great things with their seats across the board. So it's a pretty comfortable place to be. The back seat is pretty tight. I can fit back there behind myself and have just enough room. I'm 5'9". If you're taller than me, any rear seat occupants are going to be very, very crunched. So keep that in mind. Because this is all-wheel drive also, the cargo area is also pretty small. Like, unless you're able to fold down the back seat regularly, you're probably going to run out of cargo space pretty quickly, which is kind of too bad, but I get it. Like, the all-wheel drive components need to take up some space there. So, but it is like, it's smaller than I was expecting. Like, you won't be able to put much back there at all. So it is kind of, you know, practical, but at the same time, like, especially if you can put the back seat down, but it's not like this is like a Civic Type R where you've got so much room and it's, you know, put everything in there and have plenty of space for adults in the back and all of that. So this is definitely more compact. and that's okay. Like, it, you know, it gives you just a different experience than like I'm just the Civic Type R or even the WRX right now. But I'll come back to that in a second. As far as the rest of this goes in the interior, I think this is probably my main complaint. And so I own, and I haven't really done a video on it yet, but maybe I've posted some by now. I don't know if I've actually made them. Depends on when I post these. But I own a 2024, I just got it like a couple months ago, 2024 Toyota GR86 in Neptune Blue. And this is kind of a return to one of my loves. I had two BRZs and I loved those, and I've missed them, and they were the previous gen, so I wanted the new gen and thought, you know what, I haven't had an 86, so we'll get the Toyota flavor. I love that car. And I was actually able to get it for invoice pricing, which was pretty amazing. So, but even still, at MSRP for like 34 grand, this is about $6,000, $7,000 for the premium. Less than this core GR with like nothing going on in the interior. That GR86 is a pretty phenomenal deal. No, you're not getting all-wheel drive. You're not getting the turbo. I get it. It's just a matter of different things. But this is 40 grand, and this interior, not kidding, feels like the interior, but worse, except for the seats. I think the seats are better. But this interior feels worse and just less quality than my 2011 Subaru WRX, which was now almost 14 years ago. And I don't know, like, it's just a tough call. Like, I love this car, and I did a lot of honest, serious thinking this week if I should trade out for my GR86 for this GR Corolla, because I've loved it so much. But I've got a couple things. I think if you're spending 40 grand and you're not getting heated seats or a heated steering wheel, especially just heated seats, I wonder if you might be a little disappointed, especially because if you don't have to have all-wheel drive, you could go get a premium GR86 with heated seats and a really fun driving experience, and save yourself quite a bit of money, and have a nicer, more special interior. So for 40 grand, I think you might be a little disappointed with what you're getting. It is very bare bones in here. Which then my next thought was, okay, well, if I were to buy one of these, I think I would probably spring for the Circuit Edition, which gets you all the other stuff: heated seats, heated steering wheel, Alcantara, the nice, like, it just has all the cool exterior features, the vented hood, the rear wing, but it's like 46 grand, and that's before dealer markups. And so let's just pretend for a second that you could get a Circuit Edition for 46 grand. That puts you exactly in the pricing of a Civic Type R, and it puts you within a few $1,000s of an Integra Type S, which is like leaps forward in terms of refinement and luxury, which I know not everybody is after. But at the same time, you're not that far off price-wise. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, this is the car, if you prize like fizzy, kind of like unrefined driving demeanor more than anything else. Because I actually did some pretty hard searching, and there is some MSRP deals to be had out there. Some, but typically those dealers, from what I found, only really will work with local people. So if you're out of state, you got to first find one that's going to work with you out of state. Second, that's not going to be at 5, 10 or more grand markup, which these still are, which is so unfortunate. And then you've also got to factor in shipping, which is probably going to be, depending on where you're at, anywhere from like 1,000 to 2 grand or more. And so the costs start adding up, and anyway, it's just a tough call. Like, this is such an amazing car, but it's the pricing of it makes it a challenge, because I think, again, for 40 grand without the heated seats and heated steering wheel and this cloth, bare bones, plastic everywhere interior, I think most people will love driving it, but they'll also be like, dang, I just spent 40 grand on this thing, and it feels like a base Corolla in here. Which it does. It just does. At least the Circuit Edition kind of dresses it up a little with some like accents and the Alcantara and stuff like it. I think then it's passable. But then again, you're like into it $46,000, which puts you again right in with a Civic Type R if you can find one of those at MSRP, which you can if you do some hunting. But same story. And so what I'm trying to say is it puts you right in the same line pretty much with the Civic Type R and the Integra Type S, because you can get a Type S for MSRP or below, which then equates out to be about the same as what you're paying for a Civic Type R, which I loved the Integra Type S. You can go watch my video on that. I think it's really underrated. It's an awesome car. And then obviously your Civic Type R. So it's a tough, I mean, it's a good problem to have. There's so many good cars out there. Or you could just go smaller, because this back seat's so small anyway. It's like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna save some money and have just as much fun of a driving experience, different with rear-wheel drive, but still way fun, and get myself a GR86 or a BRZ and save myself who knows how much, you know, like maybe even 10 grand at that point. Which if it's a matter of saving 10 grand, getting a GR86 or a BRZ for MSRP or less, and you could save yourself like 10 grand from not getting a GR Corolla, I would just get the GR86 or BRZ all day. Like, that's a huge savings, and you're gonna have a blast in those cars. Which, if that doesn't work for you, you're like, no, I really want something all-wheel drive, something with more space. I again you just can't undervalue the appeal of the current generation Subaru WRX. No, I don't think it's quite as fun as this. It's not as fizzy or unrefined as this, but you've got a massive back seat where you can fit adults back there very comfortably. You've got a more airy, open interior. Still have great seats. The infotainment it's a lateral move. Honestly, I don't love the Subarus. I don't love this though. This has dropped my wireless Apple CarPlay a lot. And so it is typical like Toyota. It's pretty easy to use, but it hasn't been the most like reliable. It just kind of goes, and it doesn't, I mean, this has the JBL speakers, but you honestly can't even really tell, which is too bad because I like JBL stuff, but you can't really tell that it's, you know, an upgraded system at all. Again, so back to the WRX, I don't think it's quite as fun, and it's not the hatch, I get it, but you do get a huge trunk, and you can put a ton of stuff in there, and you can get deals on those. You can get limited, I've seen several limited WRXs right now, brand new, listed for almost 4 grand off of MSRP. Like, so you're about 36, 37 grand on a pretty well loaded WRX versus at least 40, 45 probably for a core GR Corolla that doesn't have anything, like nothing in here. And so, yeah, this does have a lot of cool stuff. You can change, you know, how much power is going to the rear. You've got the rev matching. It looks so cool. It's unique. It's rare, and the folks at GR have really, all the spot welds. I've watched all the videos, and it is more of a special car, definitely. But I think for most people, you could be very happy driving a WRX or a GR86 or BRZ. But still, I don't want to take anything away from this. This is been so much fun. Like, the shifter feels great. The clutch is a little long. There has been a few times when it's felt a little clunky on liftoff. It's probably my own driving, but also it does feel a little long. As many others have said, the seating position is pretty high. You definitely feel, I mean, I've got the seat fairly low right now. You could raise it up even more. There is like an element of feeling like Mr. Incredible in here, like sitting on top of the car rather than in it. So, you know, in that, I still am not like quite used to it, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't like really bother me, but it's like, you kind of feel like you're wrangling this car sometimes more than you're like in it and like driving it, if that makes sense. So anyway, one last just final shout out, which has been great. On my longer commutes, this thing has gotten really great gas mileage, like over 32 miles per gallon. I think I've been averaging about 26 miles per gallon all week, which is pretty solid. I can't complain about that. So, all right. So in closing, just let me know what you think in the comments. And especially about the price conundrum. Like, what are you gonna buy? You know, for the price, do you pay markup? Do you not? Are you okay with not getting, you know, stuff like heated seats? Are you willing to pay for a circuit? Are you willing to pay for a markup on a circuit? And then if you're willing to pay 50 grand for a circuit, would you be willing to pay 50 grand for a Civic Type R, or even an Integra Type S, which again, you're not getting all-wheel drive, but you're getting a really, really amazing car that does feel like a definite step up in a lot of ways from this. So just let us know. I'm just so curious. Let us know, and if you have one of these, congratulations. I think it's so cool. I still, with all of this being said, would love to own one, and we'll definitely, you know, keep it on my radar, and I'll really consider it. But as for now, I'm just going to keep enjoying my GR86, and maybe I'll be singing a different tune once winter comes. But I think, you know, I've done it before, and I think we're going to be okay. It's not ideal, but it's definitely doable with winter tires. Okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you.